So let's look at, I've made a copy of working with data sets. And let's see, let's see what we've got here. So we've got an association, and let's just try and make our own association as well. And so we'll make an association of, say we're tracking how much sleep people got, and we'll say that they didn't get much sleep because baby was crying. So they got 4 hours of sleep. So we can do that. Notice that the in quotes we have lowercase sleep. Okay, so that seems to be something that they're doing as a convention here. They created their 5 subjects. Interesting here, right, is they created them and they didn't execute the code until they'd done all 5. And so then you see the output is these 5 lines here. Okay, so then they're going to combine those into a data set of their subjects. Okay. Okay, so we're going to try and do our own as well. So so let's do our own as well. So we'll say our subject 1, and think about, maybe a student. So you say sleep for homework 1, video 8. Okay, let's see if we can get S1 to work. Okay, so we've got that, and then what if we just press S1? Let's see. Okay, so S1 comes out. So let's make some more. And so you just, if we copy S1, so then we say, okay, S2 is going to be this guy sleeps a lot, does 6 hours of homework, and never plays video games. And okay, so we got S2, and then let's make student 3, and student 3 is a little bit of everything. So he does 7 hours, and he's a balanced student, right? He does 2 and 2. Okay, and so so we'll have data set S, and what are we going to say with that? So we'll say we're going to make a data set, and in it, so we're going to have a list. So we use the list syntax of having the curly brackets, and we're going to put in there S1, comma, S2, comma, S3. So there's our list of students. And we try that. And we say, I wonder what's going to come out. And there we go. So we've got our list of students. They're not named, but we have, for each thing, sleep, homework, and video. Okay, and similarly we see here, they've got weight, height, and age. Okay, so let's say you want to look at the first person, so they do data set 1. All right, and we want to do data set student. And we'll do that double square brackets that we learned last week. We'll say, okay, let's look at our first student. Okay, that first student's the one who doesn't sleep much, doesn't do much homework, but has lots of time for video gaming. Okay. Now, let's take our data set here, and we're going to say we want to look at the first column, which I believe is sleep. How much are these guys sleeping? So you say, look at the first column for us. And we get, Oh, so no, I was wrong, right? So that's the first row. That's the first row. So there's our first guy, right? And then, if we wanted to, we could say, okay, we'll look at the second guy. And so there's the second guy. He sleeps a lot, does a lot of homework, doesn't play video games. Okay, but what if we wanted to watch, wanted to look at, well, how much video games are our guys doing? Okay, so we say, we're going to go to the data set, and we're going to look at all rows. So it's kind of a rows and column thing, and so we have 3 columns. So we're going to look at everybody, just their third column. Okay. And so we've got video games 8, 0, and 2. Okay. So we can do, so as you might expect, we can do this for 2 as well. So I say, okay, so how much homework are we getting done? And so we have not much, a lot, a little bit more. And so we can use the double semicolon as well instead of the all. So data set says, okay, semicolon, semicolon, comma, 1, column 1 will be how much sleep they're getting, semicolon, semicolon. And we say, okay, 4, 9, and 7. Okay, so you can do the through as well. So we could say DS. So let's say, so we don't have many rows, so we'll have to see if we can add a row as well to the data set. So I'm not sure about that. Just working on. So let's say that we say, okay, what about 2, semicolon, semicolon, 5. Okay, so in a spreadsheet that would be 2, colon, 5 to show a range. And I'll do 1. So that isn't, oh, we can't, so watch what happens when we say that. Okay, so it says, wait a minute. Oh, okay, so we got a wrong syntax. I'm missing a bracket. So what does it do if we have an error like that? Well, we don't have column 5, right? So notice it didn't care. So it just said, well, you know, you're not really sure what you're doing, but I'll do all the rows I can. And if you say row 5, well, I'll try it, but there's no row 5. And so that worked out. Okay, so that's a nice thing about it. Okay, what if we only want to do a couple rows? Let's see if we can do row 1. And so we say, okay, we want the set of 1, comma 3. Okay, so we want those 2 rows of our data, but not anything else. And we want to look at how much video games I played. Okay, so we had sleep, study, video games. Okay, so we've got that, and we do our double brackets to close. And so there we were asking just for our 2 guys who like to play, so 8 and 2. Okay, so can we specify by, so I think we have sleep, homework, and video. So let's see if we can reference them by name. Okay, so, and sometimes that'll be an easier thing for you to do. Okay, so you say, okay, my data set of students, all, and sleep. Okay, can I do that? Can I do, tell me how much for each of them about sleep. Okay, and if I copy that down here, I can say, oh, tell me all about homework. I go down and I say, okay, 1 homework. So we're not shut out. Okay, so we'll just copy this and use this format to ask about a particular row. Okay, so we'll say, instead of data set, we say oops, I'll do that. Okay. So we'll say data set. We want to select based on, see who's sleeping. I say, so we say pound sleep. Sleep is greater than 5 hours. And you need the ampersand, okay, for mysterious reasons. So we say, okay, who's sleeping for more than 5? And we get these two guys, right? So one of them that's our long sleeper and the other kind of medium. Okay. They're the ones who sleep 5. So then we say, let's take this, so we copy it. And what if we do the opposite? What if we say, well, let's put a less than sign. And if we do that, we should get our video gamer there who sleeps just 4 hours. Okay, so as the text notes, the pound is letting you say an attribute, and the and side, I guess, is just saying you can have multiple rows. And so you can also do, okay, so here what they're saying is you can also do an equal. So let's copy that. So you could say, I want to find out everybody who sleeps a certain amount. Okay. And you say select. So from our data set of students, we want to select sleep. And we want to find, is there anybody who's sleeping 9 hours? Let's see if there is anybody. And we say, yeah, there is, and this is what you see. Oh, the person who slept 9 hours does 6 hours of homework. Okay. Well, what if you say, well, what about someone who sleeps 10 hours? When we search on that, we get empty, right? So there is no one there. So you want to notice that you're using that double equal sign. Okay. Now, you can get more specific, and you can say, okay, well, in my data set, I want to select the sleep, and I want sleep to be greater than 4. So I want my sleep to be greater than 4. And of those rows, show me, please, the homework and the video. So we try that. Okay, so we got 2 rows, and in those 2 rows, we just said, okay, of the people who are sleeping, show me the other 2 things. Because I'm interested in, well, if you get enough sleep, what kind of performance do you have in terms of homework and video? Okay, so now what they're showing us is that in this short list, we can okay, so let's make a second list. We'll do a slightly longer list. So we'll say longer list. Okay, and then longer list, we're going to add some values, right? So we'll add a bunch of 15s. Okay, so let's try that. So we say, okay, there's our longer list. And in our longer list, let's see what the mean is. So mean of longer list. Okay, so our mean is 13.7, so that's our average. And now let's just put in some outliers and see what happens. So let's put in 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. Okay, and so we've updated our list. So longer list now has those thousands in. And now when we say longer list and ask for the mean, we get 161. So you see that we've changed the and so it would take a lot of very low values to bring the mean back down, having added those in. Let's try this then. Let's try the length of our longer list. We say, okay, try the length of it. Okay, so we have 20 values. So now we want to try and imitate what we see here with our student data set. So we say, okay, give us the mean of this data set. Okay. And we want to say maybe the average amount of sleep our students are getting. Okay. And the double N, I think, says that we can have a decimal value. Okay, so we average 6.67. And now let's try it with just without the N. So what do we see differently? So there it says, well, I'll tell you exactly what it is, which is 20 divided by 3. Okay, so it gives us a fraction. So the N we need if we want decimal. Okay, so let's look at all the values for sleep. So we'll say we have DS, and we're going to list everything, and we're going to list everything in the sleep column. Okay, there's the sleep column. Okay, so let's see if we do the same thing, but we're going to do normal. And so what normal's doing is it's changing it from what you see there. That looks kind of like a spreadsheet. So if we say normal, N-O-R-M-A-L, and then square bracket, put the N, put a square bracket on. Now what we've got is we're just going to try and get something that is just a set of numbers, 4, 9, and 7. So when we set it in the list, it's still treating it as sort of like the cells in a spreadsheet. Okay. And so if you remember that idea of flattening, so we're flattening out. So we had last time with the matrices that we were flattening them out. Okay, and so let's try what they're showing us there. Normal. So we're going to go on our data set of students, and we're going to say, take all of homework. And we need that third square bracket. Okay, and there it is. There's a set. So what do you think the dimensions would be? So dimensions of our data set. So we look at the dimensions, and well, we had 3 rows, 3 columns, so we have that. And so next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a data set. And in this data set, so if we take a look at subjects, so this would be like in medical research, you have subjects, and the subjects, maybe you have an identifier. So you tend not to use names. You want to keep things confidential, so you say, okay, here's a number for each person in my trial, like maybe I'm testing a COVID vaccine. Okay. And then I have a second attribute, B, and they kind of group, right, XYZ, XYZ. So you might be testing on say, young, middle-aged, old. Okay, so you have two candidates in each, two patients in each. Right? Then you have a third thing, which might be health status. Okay? So what you have is 6 different subjects, okay, 3 classes of age, and 5 classifications of health status, and nobody is in the 4th status in your particular group. So you have your subjects. So you've created your subjects database. And you could say, well, I want to sort by column B, because column B has 2 X's, 2 Y's, and 2 Z's. Okay, so young, medium, old. Okay, so you might say, well, I want to see on my results if I can see a different pattern based on age. Okay. So we're going to group our subjects by B, and we're going to say, well, what is the mean of C? Okay, and we say, oh, well, so we group by B, so we have 2 in X, 2 in Y, 2 in Z, and then we look at the value of C and we group that. Okay. Now when you do that, you might say, well, I wonder if I did that /n, what would happen? And see if it'll give us decimal results. Okay, so that didn't work, right? So that didn't seem to do anything. So let's just see if we can get the same thing to happen as happened with them. Okay, so subjects grouped by B, mean C. Okay, so let's try this one up here. Okay, so when you see that happening, you say, well, maybe it's forgotten what subjects is. So we try again up here and see if it comes out. Okay, so now we've got subjects refreshed. So you notice I went up here and I said subjects. And then I'm just going to try and print out subjects and see what happens. Okay, so it seems to know what subjects are. So now let's go up here and see if we can do this again. Okay, so now that seems to work. And then we go in and say, okay, can we? Well, that didn't work, right? So it didn't change it into decimal output. So here what they're doing is they're saying, okay, let's take our subjects and from column B, take the X. Okay. And so then we get our X subjects. And we actually set that up. Okay. Well, you know, so if you do that, then a natural thing, so if you're thinking about it, say, well, I'm going to create the Y subjects as well. Okay. So I'm going to select those guys. And so we see that these are the 2 that had, for column B, the value Y. And once you do that, you say, well, it doesn't seem fair not to create the Z object. So I'm going to select on column B those that are Z. Okay, and there's the Z objects. Okay, so now you can say, well, I'm going to count how many X subjects are there. And so we're curious, well, what if we do it on Y subjects? What do we get then? And also 2, so there's 2 guys in Y. Well, so you might want to say, I want to get the C values of everybody. And so this is showing you how you get the C values of everybody. And, well, naturally we kind of curious as to what about the B values. And let's see what happens if we do that. Oh, okay, so there's everybody's B values. And we can also do everybody's A values, right? So go through and say, let's do our A values. Okay, and that's what we expected, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we could do this head thing as well. So we say, okay, head of A. What's the head of A? And the head of A is the list, just like down here. Okay, so in our subjects, we take the mean of C. And, well, what happens if you do something that shouldn't have a mean, like B? So remember, B was X, Y, Z. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so it's not really sure what to do there, right? So, right. And what if we take the mean of A? Okay, so that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I guess. Oh no, started with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so halfway is 3.5. Okay, so we're going to do our exercises. We'll do that in a separate video.